9 perennial vines that feed you for life. Plant once and harvest it for the next 10, 20, even 30 years. No replanting every spring, no buying seeds again, no starting over. Just one plant climbing up a fence, trellis, or wall, quietly producing food for you year after year. But before we dive in, click the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, because I'll be sharing more helpful crops tomorrow. Now here's the crazy part. Some of these plants grow in places where most vegetables struggle. Some thrive in shade, some produce tubers underground, and one of them actually grows potatoes in midair. Yes, potatoes hanging from a vine. Today, I'm going to show you 9 incredible perennial vines that can feed you for life. These are plants you grow once, and they keep giving food back to you season after season. And the truth is, most gardeners have never even heard of half of them. But stay with me until the end, because I'm also sharing 3 secret bonus vines that are even more surprising, including one that might completely change how you think about growing food. And if you love discovering plants that practically grow food on autopilot, make sure you subscribe, because I share plants like this all the time. 1. Caucasian spinach, the perennial climbing green. Let's start with something most people have never heard of. It's called Caucasian spinach, also known as Hablitzia. And the reason I'm putting this one first is simple. It's basically a climbing spinach that comes back every single year. Imagine a vine that climbs up a trellis or fence, producing fresh leafy greens before most gardens have even woken up from winter. That's exactly what this plant does. Caucasian spinach comes from the Caucasus Mountain region, and it was actually grown in Scandinavian gardens back in the 1800s. Then somehow, people forgot about it, but permaculture gardeners are rediscovering it now, and once you see what it can do, you'll understand why. This vine can climb 8 to 10 feet tall, producing tender green leaves every spring. The taste is mild and pleasant, somewhere between spinach and chard. You can toss the young leaves into salads or cook them just like normal spinach. A quick sauté with garlic and olive oil? Absolutely delicious. But here's what really makes this plant special. It loves shade. But Caucasian spinach actually thrives in partial shade or even full shade. So all those dark corners of your garden where nothing grows, this vine says, perfect, I'll take that spot. Some gardeners report plants that are 20 to 30 years old still producing leaves every spring like clockwork. Think about that for a moment. One plant, planted once, feeding you fresh greens for 30 years. 2. Groundnut vine, the forgotten protein crop. Now let's move on to something even more fascinating. This one is called the groundnut vine, or Apios americana. And despite the name, it's not related to peanuts at all. What makes this plant special is that it produces chains of edible tubers underground. Imagine digging into the soil and finding a string of little potato-like tubers connected together like beads on a necklace. That's what groundnut produces. And here's the amazing part. These tubers contain about 3 times the protein of a regular potato. 3 times. In fact, Native American tribes relied on this plant as a major food source for centuries. Some historians even believe groundnut helped early settlers survive harsh winters in North America. The tubers taste like a mix between potato and roasted sweet potato with a slightly nutty flavor. You can boil them, roast them, mash them, or add them to soups and stews. They're incredibly versatile. The vine produces clusters of reddish-brown flowers that smell amazing and look a bit like miniature wisteria blooms. So while it's quietly producing food underground, it's also decorating your garden above ground. Another huge advantage? Groundnut is a nitrogen-fixing plant. That means it actually improves your soil while it grows. Plants like this act like natural fertilizers, enriching the soil for everything around them. It grows well in zones 3 through 9, and it can tolerate some shade as well. Plant it once, wait a little, and then harvest food from the same vine for years. That's a pretty good deal.
All right, this next plant is one of my personal favorites. It's called chocolate vine, or Akebia quinata. And yes, the flowers actually smell like chocolate. When this vine blooms in spring, the air fills with a subtle, sweet fragrance that really does remind people of chocolate. Chocolate vine also produces edible fruit pods. These unusual pods are shaped a bit like sausages, and when they ripen, they split open to reveal a soft, jelly-like pulp inside. The flavor is delicate and sweet, Many people describe it as a mix between melon and coconut. It's not something you'll harvest by the bucket, but it's a wonderful garden treat. And here's something many people don't realize. The young shoots are also edible. In Japan, the tender shoots of akebia have been eaten for generations as a spring vegetable. They're often sautéed or added to stir-fries. So this vine gives you edible shoots, fragrant flowers, and unique fruits. Not bad for one plant. It grows well in zones 4 through 9, and it handles both heat and cold surprisingly well. Just keep in mind, because it grows so vigorously, a little pruning now and then helps keep it under control. But honestly, when you're standing under a garden arbor covered in chocolate vine blossoms, with that sweet scent drifting through the air, that's the kind of moment that reminds you why gardening is so magical. And we're just getting started, because the next vine on this list absolutely loves heat, grows faster when temperatures rise, and produces armfuls of edible leaves all summer long. While most greens die off in hot weather, this plant thrives. Let's talk about it next. 4. Malabar spinach, the heat-loving perennial green. This plant is called Malabar spinach, and in warm climates, it can become a perennial food powerhouse. Unlike traditional spinach, which struggles once summer arrives, Malabar spinach thrives in hot weather. In fact, when temperatures climb past 85 degrees Fahrenheit, this vine really starts taking off. That means while most gardeners watch their greens disappear in July, Malabar spinach is just getting started. The vine grows quickly, often reaching 6 to 10 feet tall in a single season, wrapping itself around trellises, fences, or garden arches. And it produces thick, glossy leaves that are completely edible. The texture is slightly similar to okra, with a natural thickness that makes it perfect for soups and stews. Nutritionally, Malabar spinach is packed with vitamins A and C, calcium and iron, making it one of the healthiest greens you can grow. And visually, it's stunning. Many varieties have deep purple stems and dark green leaves, giving the plant a tropical appearance that looks incredible climbing through a garden. The plant even produces small purple berries that have been used as a natural dye for food coloring and ink. In tropical and subtropical climates, zones 9 through 11, Malabar spinach can grow as a true perennial, coming back year after year. But even in cooler regions, it grows so quickly that gardeners happily plant it again every season. If you've ever struggled to grow greens during hot summers, Malabar spinach might become your new best friend. 5. Hyacinth bean, the beautiful multi-purpose vine. Now the next vine on this list might be one of the most beautiful food plants you'll ever grow. It's called hyacinth bean. And if you've never seen one before, imagine this: a climbing vine covered in bright purple flowers, followed by shiny, deep purple seed pods that almost look like something from a fantasy garden. This plant is so stunning that many people grow it purely for decoration. But what most gardeners don't realize is that it's also completely edible. The young pods, leaves, flowers, and beans can all be eaten. In many parts of Africa, India, and Southeast Asia, hyacinth beans have been grown as a staple food crop for generations. But there is one important rule with this plant. The mature beans must always be cooked thoroughly before eating. They need to be boiled properly, often with the water changed once, to remove naturally occurring compounds. This is the same preparation method used for many traditional beans around the world. Once cooked, they become nutritious and delicious. And there's another huge advantage. Hyacinth beans are nitrogen-fixing plants, meaning they improve soil fertility while they grow. Even Thomas Jefferson grew hyacinth beans at Monticello, showing just how long people have valued this vine. In warm climates, it grows as a perennial, while in cooler areas, it behaves like a fast-growing annual that often reseeds itself.
6. Scarlet runner bean, the pollinator magnet that feeds you. Now let's talk about a vine that many gardeners already know, but very few realize it can actually be perennial. This is the scarlet runner bean. If you've ever seen one in bloom, you'll understand why people fall in love with it. The vine produces brilliant red flowers that almost glow against the green leaves, and hummingbirds absolutely go crazy for them. In fact, planting scarlet runner beans is one of the easiest ways to attract pollinators to your garden. But the flowers are only part of the story, because this plant also produces delicious edible beans. The young green pods can be picked early and eaten just like green beans. They're tender, slightly fuzzy, and have a rich flavor that many gardeners say is even better than regular beans. But if you leave the pods on the vine longer, they mature into large, speckled beans inside. These dried beans are fantastic in soups, stews, and traditional dishes. They have a creamy texture and a flavor often compared to chestnuts. What makes scarlet runner beans especially interesting is their root system.
In zone 7 and warmer, the plant develops tuberous roots underground. So you get food, pollinators, and vertical beauty all from one plant. And when those red flowers start glowing in the summer sun, your garden suddenly feels alive.
8. Passion fruit, the tropical flavor explosion. If you've ever cut open a ripe passion fruit, you already know how incredible it is. That intense, sweet, tart tropical aroma is unlike anything else in the fruit world. And it all comes from a beautiful climbing vine called passion fruit. Before the fruit even appears, this plant produces some of the most spectacular flowers in the entire plant kingdom. Round fruits filled with bright orange pulp and crunchy edible seeds. The flavor is bold, tangy, sweet, and incredibly aromatic. You can scoop it straight from the fruit, mix it into yogurt, blend it into smoothies, make jams, desserts, sauces, even cocktails. And nutritionally, passion fruit is packed with vitamins A and C, fiber, and potassium. The vine grows best in zones 9 through 11, although some varieties can handle slightly cooler conditions. Once established, a passion fruit vine can produce fruit for 5 to 7 years or more, and it grows incredibly fast. Many gardeners go from planting to their first harvest in just 1 year. Give it full sun, good drainage, and something strong to climb, and it will reward you with pounds of fruit every season. 9. Hardy kiwi, the 50-year fruit vine. Now this last vine tends to surprise people, because most people think kiwi can only grow in places like New Zealand, but that's not true. There's a variety called hardy kiwi, and it can survive winters in zones 3 through 9. That means gardeners in places with cold winters can still grow their own kiwi fruit. But these aren't the fuzzy kiwis you see in the grocery store. Hardy kiwi fruits are small, smooth, and about the size of grapes. And the best part? You can eat them whole, skin and all. Just pop them in your mouth like candy. The flavor is incredibly sweet and tropical, often even sweeter than regular kiwi. Kids especially love them. The vines themselves are extremely vigorous and long-lived. In fact, a healthy hardy kiwi vine can live 50 years or more. Yes, half a century of fruit from one plant. Now there are 2 things to remember. Most varieties require a male and female plant for pollination, and they usually take 3 to 5 years to begin producing fruit. But once they start, a single mature vine can produce up to 100 pounds of fruit per year. That's an incredible amount of food from a climbing plant. Bonus vines, the secret plants most gardeners don't know. Now I promised a few surprises, so here are 3 bonus vines that even experienced gardeners rarely talk about. But before we dive in, click the subscribe button, like, comment, and share because I will be sharing more helpful crops tomorrow. First is sea kale. This coastal perennial produces tender shoots that can be harvested like asparagus. The flavor is delicate, something between asparagus and cabbage, and it's incredibly tough, thriving in sandy soil, wind, and salty conditions that would kill most vegetables. Second is Madeira vine. This fast-growing climber produces edible leaves and aerial tubers. The leaves can be cooked just like spinach, and the tubers can be replanted to grow new vines. But it grows aggressively, so it's best managed carefully. And finally, the plant that always blows people's minds, the air potato yam. This vine produces potato-like tubers that grow directly on the vine. Yes, potatoes hanging in the air. But there's one very important warning. Some wild varieties are toxic, so you must only grow known edible cultivated varieties. When grown correctly, though, it's one of the most fascinating food plants you'll ever see. So there you have it, 9 incredible perennial vines plus 3 hidden bonus plants, all capable of turning a simple trellis or fence into a living food system, plants that you grow once and harvest from for years, sometimes decades. So here's a challenge for you. Pick just one plant from this list and try growing it this year. Start small. And if this video introduced you to even one plant you'd never heard of before, then make sure you subscribe and join the channel, because there are many more amazing food plants most gardeners still don't know about, and I can't wait to show them to you. I'll see you in the next video.